Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another edition of What You Reading. People ask me lots of questions on Ask Chuck Dixon. That's the point of it. They ask me questions. But a question I get most often probably is what you reading? What are you reading? Comics, novels. What are you reading for entertainment, for information? Basically, what are you reading when you're not writing? And I assume that some of you are curious if we share the same interests, or I like the same kind of books you like, or maybe you're looking for stuff you never heard of. And trust me, you never heard of this one. It's a novel called, I'm going to slaughter the French here, A Cote de la Plaque. And it's written by Mark Bem. And Mark Bem is an author I have mentioned many times here, not here, but on the Ask Chuck Dixon channel. And Bem was a expatriate GI, served in World War II in Europe, fell in love with France, fell in love with Paris, decided never to leave. And he became a French citizen, and he wrote a number of novels that are very popular in France. He wrote them in English, they were translated into French. And unfortunately for us, only four were ever translated into English of his novels. And not that widespread. He's not a well-known author by any means. Um, and you're probably not familiar with him. I've mentioned many times, lamenting that unfortunately, I can only read four of his novels. I can't read the rest. They are a mystery to me. I do not read French. Um, but a one of you listeners, a guy named Jack Elmy, uh, sent me the coolest thing. He translated, obviously he's bilingual. He translated this novel off the wall from French into English so I could read it. Sent me a PDF, and I'm old school. I printed it up and read it like a book, uh, and really enjoyed it. But a little bit more about Mark Bem. Mark Bem isn't famous as a novelist here in the United States, but you may know him as a screenwriter. He wrote the screenplay for Blake Edwards' movie Charade, which was like a failed attempt to do a Hitchcock film. I'm not going to blame Bem. I'm gonna blame Blake Edwards for it failing. Um, he also wrote the screenplay for the Beatles movie Help. It's an unusual thing to have in your resume, uh, in addition to these terrific novels. Now, Off the Wall is a typical Bem novel in that it's like anti-structure. It's not like any other kind of novel you've ever read. It's a genre novel in that it's somewhat of a murder mystery, but it really, you don't care about the mystery, uh, even though it's eventually resolved. Um, what Ben is into is telling you about this character, and it's this young guy, and he's inherited his parents die in a plane crash, and he inherits their auto garage, and he doesn't work there. He just collects the money from it. The business is run by a family friend, and basically he's got a lot of time on his hands and a rich fantasy life that he lives, which is only enhanced by the arrival of a serial killer in his area that the press has dubbed the Butcher. And the Butcher tours around this Los Angeles suburb, picking victims at random and leaving, them chopped to pieces in public places. Now they tell his story, this young guy's story, as he tries to um, he basically, with the police are around questioning people, they're canvassing the area, and he sees this female police officer that he becomes smitten with, and they don't realize that he's recognized as a police officer, and so they have her working undercover because they see him as somewhat of a suspect. He's a suspicious guy. He always seems to be around the neighborhood, and he always seems to be in the vicinity of where these killings happen. And he likes this girl so much that he basically leaves clues for the police to make them think that he is the killer. And so she goes undercover to date him, and they kind of fall for each other. He's kind of a weird guy, but she kind of sees something different in him, and it all goes to hell because it's a Mark Bem novel. But it's peculiar, and his fantasy life takes the shape of alternating chapters in the book, which are an imagined African adventure featuring this young guy as a great explorer when he's not fantasizing about being a detective in Edwardian England chasing down Jack the Ripper. He's fantasizing this incredibly strange, like right out of Edgar Rice Burroughs, African adventure with all these fantastic things happening that could never happen in the real Africa. Just in insane adventures that he has in this imagined visit to Africa. And so each chapter, or every so often in the chapters, you'll have a chapter from this imagined book that he's written in his head. And this is typical Mark Bem. There's nothing formulaic about it. But there's quite a few suspenseful moments, quite a few funny moments. But the thing about Bem is he writes in this stark, declarative sentence style it makes his books compulsively readable. They're never long books, and these are like one sitting books. If you're taking a plane ride, a Mark Bem novel will keep you entertained beginning to end, from takeoff to landing. So I realize I'm recommending a book you can't read, but you asked me what I'm reading, and that's what I read. This one-off translation. Now, just between you and me, there's nobody else listening, right? If you would like to read this novel, I can send you the PDF, but you got to do something for me. You got to give some money to St. Jude's Hospital. We've done this before, and trust me, you folks have raised thousands and thousands of dollars for St. Jude's Hospitals just on the few giveaways that I've offered here. I get nothing out of this. I have no association with St. Jude's Hospital other than they do tremendous work, and 100% of your donation goes to save kids from disease, save kids that had no other choice but St. Jude's. And here's the thing, they save all these kids every year, and their parents never receive a bill, and that's because of you. So if you want to contact me at I'll leave a link to my email below this video, and follow that, and just tell me you donated to St. Jude's. It's all in the honor system, and I'll send you a PDF. You can read this book yourself. This crazy nutty book that I'm recommending but you can't read. So anyway, that's it for me. See you next week. See you down the road.